Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to build $1 million land investment company without owning any land. I actually made my first $1 million in profit flipping land before the age of 25. This business has, completely changed my life, given me peace, purpose, and profit, and even the ability to chase after other passions that I have, which is my initial plan for actually building this business. So the number one important thing to understand about this business model is you need traffic and you need leads on a consistent basis. If you do not have these things, then you have no business. And so the way to get these leads consistently is by marketing on a consistent basis. Now, with marketing, we send out direct mail, we cold call owners, and we also SMS blast text owners. These are the three ways that I have used to get leads consistently into my business. And these are leads from all over the country. We're not just wholesaling land in one market or two markets. I've done deals in 48 different states. I've done rural recreational deals all over the country. So we're marketing to people from all over the country. Now, the rules that I follow are minimum purchase price, $40,000 sold. I want to see on average that properties are selling for $100,000 or more, and that properties are selling within 90 days or less. If I see that in any given market, then I'm going to go into that market. And so when you follow the rules of that market selection and you couple it with marketing on a consistent basis, what happens is you get quality leads on a consistent basis. The other thing to realize that not everyone will want to sell to you. Some people are going to say, I don't really want to sell to you. No, I want more money. We're able to handle these things with what I call seller framing and rapport building. You need to be able to build rapport with sellers from all over the country. You need to be able to speak to people from all over the country. You need to make sure that you are very well spoken. This just comes with practice. When I first started doing this business model, I would stutter a lot. I didn't know what I was talking about. I had no clue. The only way that you can improve this skill is by having thousands and thousands of conversations, which I've personally been able to have. And I've also been able to teach my team how to be able to have thousands and thousands of conversations with sellers so that we can understand seller psychology. We can understand different seller types. We can also understand how to close those sellers based upon who they are, what their motivations are, and what they want at the end of the transaction. So when it comes to acquisitions, that is also extremely important when building a land investment company. You need to be talking to sellers consistently and you need to be having conversations. One of the most important things about this business model is the amount of conversations that you're having with your leads. And people that I see failing in this business model, not getting enough deals, are not having any conversations. It's a lot of analysis, a lot of analyze. Hopefully I do this perfectly instead of having conversations. I focus on following the rules, the basic rules that I laid out before, and getting marketing out on a consistent basis. I don't make sure that everything is perfect. I don't sit there and analyzing everything and making sure that everything is priced perfectly. I don't do that. We make sure that we send out the mail, send out the text messages, or cold call the data based upon the rules. And as long as we follow those rules, then we're going to get consistent results. You have to understand this because too many people try to analyze so much that they're paralyzed. You can't take the action. You can't make the calls. You can't send text because you're like, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. This is the wrong frame. You need to make sure that you're talking to people on a consistent basis. That is the only way to get deals done. And on top of that, making sure that you're recording your calls too. I record all of our calls. I have calls recorded dated back to 2021. And it's crazy because I can see how much better I got over the phone, and I can also see how much better my team's gotten over the phone as well. It's night and day. And so if you want to be able to be a top 1% earner, you can be through this business model. This is the best cash flow business model that exists on planet Earth. And if you learn how to do this properly, you learn how to do deals consistently, you'll make more money than you ever would have hoped for. Now, we also focus heavily on dispositions and selling our properties on the market as well. I have many case studies on my channel that you can go through as well of how we've marketed properties to sell extremely quickly. Now, when it comes to marketing, we make sure to get really good drone shots, really good listing descriptions, very good photos. We make sure to do this on a consistent basis. We work with brokers only who have sold properties in that market that are like kind of ours. If a broker doesn't know what they're talking about, I don't want to go with them. And on top of that, I also make sure to list aggressively. So if properties on average are listed for 150,000, I'm going to start at 120 because I want to sell faster, which means that I also have to get my acquisition price, anywhere from, let's say, $60,000 to $70,000, because I want my profit margins to be anywhere from $25,000 to I've had as high as $250,000. That's what I want on a consistent basis. Now, when you master all the functions as I just stated them out, to market selection, to marketing, to acquisitions, to dispositions, and you've done multiple deals, and now you're doing, let's say, 1, 2, 3 deals a month, and you've got cash in the bank, now is the time to record all of your systems, record the things that have been working even before this. You need to be recording your systems, making sure that you're building SOPs into your company. How do you do deals on a consistent basis? How do you make sure that you're doing them successfully? What goes wrong in your business? Make sure that you're even recording the things that go wrong and why they go wrong. So that way, when it's time to delegate to your team, they know exactly what to avoid. They know exactly what to do. And you also need to delegate to A players. You need to become an A player before you can delegate to A players as well. How do you become the A player? By cultivating your skills on a consistent basis. So every day on the phone, you have to go through the season of grinding. You have to go through the the season where it doesn't make sense. You have to go through the season where you're pounding your head in. You have to go through that season. You want to be a top 1% earner. Every single top 1% earner, I don't care what they say, went through a season where nothing made sense at all. They had to figure it out. I had to figure it out to get here. I had to go through a lot to get here, to get to the point where I can show someone this business model and within 90 days, they make $50,000 or $35,000 or $10,000, so on and so forth. I had to learn this inherently and intensively in order to get to that point where I can show some random person that I don't know how to make tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, so on and so forth, doing this business model, if not millions of dollars. And so you have to go through the season where it doesn't make sense. You have to go through the season where I'm learning. You have to go through that. And if you're not willing to go through that, well, then no business model is for you. The other thing to understand with capital, I said with no money. So when you're using no money, first of all, make sure that you have good credit. You can get business credit. There are many banks that do offer 0% interest credit cards, 0% interest business credit cards. I've helped my clients get cards like this and been funded for tens of thousands of dollars within just a few weeks that they can invest into their business. You know, as far as marketing goes, market selection, data, you can invest all into all that. Now, when it comes to actually buying the land, a lot of people get this confused and think that they have to buy the land. I get this question a lot. Oh, well, I want to start the land investment company, but I don't have any money to buy the land. You don't need money to buy the land. My first $1 million in profit, I did not use my own money to fund any of the deals. I used other people's money. I partnered up with JV funders. I took 50% of the deal. And then as I built up my track record with different funders, it went to 70, 80, and then I eventually got 90% because I built up my track record so well. And it was like, you know what, Femi, you have made us so much money over the last year. We're going to give you this 90. And maybe it'll be time stacked, but if I can sell this property within 30 days and you get anywhere from 80 to 90% on a deal. And this is what I did on a consistent basis. So I was able to just build up my track record very quickly and get to the point where now I've just been very smart with my money. I would say I've been smart with my credit, with everything, to the point where I can fund other people's deals myself. And so if you actually have deals, feel free to send me deals. I'll fund your deals for you, but they have to be good deals and they have to be following the rules that I gave before in market selection and how we actually select our markets. If you don't follow those rules, please don't send me any deals. The other thing too is making sure that you stay focused on this strategy. I've stayed extremely focused for the last few years on building the land business so that it cash flows to the point where I can live my life as I see fit. I can pay my team well. I can retire early if I want to. I can do whatever it is that I want to do, and I can become a top 1% earner in my 20s. That is the only thing I've been focused on for the last several years. I haven't worried about anything else. And yes, of course, I've learned how to manage my money. I've learned how to invest my money. I've learned, other vehicles that I can get into, of course, but none of these things would exist. I wouldn't even be making this video right now if it wasn't for my land flipping business and it wasn't for the cash flow that it's provided me. I wouldn't be doing it because I'd be doubling down and focusing on how to get the land investment company to cash flow. So when you understand that if you just focus on this business model, you can build generational wealth for yourself, you'll focus on nothing else. And so if you're a person that wants to scale your land investment company to $1 million or more, and you want to license the systems that has helped me do the exact same thing in my business and help other people create multiple six-figure profit results in just a matter of a few months, feel free to book a strategy call below and I'd be happy to help you. This has been Femi with Landverse, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So you've been trying your hand at flipping land. You have tried to do deals. You have tried to cold call. You tried to text. You tried to send mail, but to no avail. So here's the thing. Land flipping is really hard until you do this. And over the past several years, I've been flipping land profitably and consistently. And more recently, I've helped people make multiple six figures in profit in days, months, and years. And these are all of the principles that I have seen throughout helping people achieve these results in very short amounts of time. Now, the first thing to understand with land investing is that there's a lot of propaganda that goes around about what marketing channel is the best, what you should watch, what you should consume, what you should do. There's a lot of propaganda about it. And the number one thing that you have to understand about land investing is that you first need to eliminate dissonance. And what does it mean to eliminate dissonance? Well, you need to be able to focus on one process through and through. When you have so many things coming at you, so many different things that you're watching, so many different things that you're consuming, and you don't know where to market your properties, you don't know how to market your properties, you don't know what your brand should look like, you don't even think about all these things because there's just so much noise. You have to be able to eliminate the noise and eliminate all the dissonance that's happening. Every single client I've ever worked with has come to me with a ridiculous amount of dissonance. They don't know where things are. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing. They're not even aligned with their goals. So you need to get extremely clear on why you want to start land investing. Is it because of financial freedom? Is it because you want to have extra cash flow? Is it because you want to take care of your family? Is it because you want the feeling of doing big deals? I mean, me personally, at this point, I like the feeling of when we close deals. I still enjoy that. I still enjoy what it's like to add value to a seller and figure out how to position ourselves on the market to sell quickly. Now, the cash flow is great, the financial freedom is fantastic, and land investing has truly given me the opportunity to be able to retire at 25 and really have no care in the world. And I want the same thing for you, but you have to know if that's what you actually want. So eliminating dissonance is the number one important thing that land investors have to do in order to be able to carry themselves on into massive success. So identify what you want. When you identify what you want, then it becomes really easy to carry through any of the hard times. It becomes really easy to evaluate markets, because if you know that you want to be able to do deals where you're going to make $50, $60, $70,000 plus in profit, well, then you're going to be able to aim at markets just like that. You're going to be able to market to properties like that. You're going to be able to have conversations with people like that. Kind of like my client, John, who I just helped make $262,000 in 3 weeks. If you want to watch that interview, it's linked below. When he came to me, he had so much dissonance going on. He talked about this in our interview where he said, I didn't know where things were. I didn't know. I had everything everywhere, and I was mailing, I was texting, I was doing this, I was doing that, and I was just trying to find one strategy that worked. You see, this is the thing. All of the strategies work, but you have to be able to identify your objectives and pick one strategy based upon what's going to work best for you and what your goals actually are. So when you're able to pick just one strategy and you're able to follow through on that one strategy and make sure that you're doing it correctly, then it becomes extremely easy to run the business, because then you know where your leads are flowing from, you know how to follow up with that lead, you know exactly what you're doing, and you know how to frame your marketing, you know how to frame your acquisitions process for that specific lead funnel. Now, here's the thing with one strategy. As you start to market, you might think that it's going to happen overnight. You may think that the mailers, people are going to call you and say, oh my God, like this is exactly what I was looking for. I want to sell. You might think that's going to happen in 3 weeks, and you may be expecting that. And then when you don't get that, and maybe it takes a month or 2 months or 3 months, then you're like, this strategy doesn't work. That's what you start to think. Mail, direct mail specifically, has a very compound effect. In fact, every single marketing channel that we use, from cold calling to texting, direct mail, it all has a long-term effect. But the one that has the most long-term effect in my experience is direct mail. Why? Because Sally and Jimmy, they cannot go to their coffee table and open a cold call or a text, but you can do that with a direct mail letter. And for the profile of person that we go after consistently, these people that are owning multiple six-figure assets, so on and so forth, they open their mail, they check their mail, and another text or another cold call, that's just gonna most of the time just get thrown into spam. But it's very powerful if you have a letter or mailer with really good copy, really good branding that they can stick on their refrigerator just in case. And it has happened so many times in my own business where people call us years later and say, hey, you know, I've actually had your mailer for 1.5 years. It's been on my fridge, but I wanted to call you today because this just happened or that just happened. This has happened so many times. I have calls still coming in from the day that I started mailing. So even the mailers that weren't that good. And on top of the fact that we have doubled down on this strategy, so much so that all of our clients are getting results with this strategy. Like my other client, Julian, who made $10,500 in just 1 day from this strategy. If you don't have a process for consistently getting your mail out, then what will start to happen is this dissonance. And this is what I call dissonance right here. All this. This is literally what your brain does when you're not sticking to one strategy, when you haven't eliminated the dissonance, and then when you haven't identified your objectives. This is your brain. This is what starts to happen. You start to get stressed out. Does the land business actually work for me? Is this a real thing? Oh my God, this is so hard. And then you're looking in the Discords, and you're looking in the Facebook groups, and then you're looking in all the chats, and you see all the wins, and you see everyone winning, and you see people posting checks. You see people posting their wire transfer. You see all this stuff, right? This is what your brain starts to do. This is what your brain starts to do. And the thing is, I help people eliminate this completely. I help people eliminate this so that we can focus on these three things and making sure that we dial them in as much as we possibly can to get them results as fast as we possibly can. And if you need help eliminating the dissonance in your business and creating a profitable 6 or 7 figure land investing business in 2025 and beyond, book in a strategy call below. Me and my team will be happy to help. Now, the last thing that is extremely important in order for you to start to make land investing easier, you need to be able to track vigorously. If you're not tracking vigorously, then you don't know where your numbers are coming from. You don't know how much money you're spending compared to how much money you're making. You don't know your ROAS. You don't know how many conversations you're having. You don't know how many conversations lead to a deal. You don't know how many offers lead to a deal. You don't know how many contracts sent lead to a deal. You don't know. So if you're not tracking your numbers, this is what you need to be tracking. Conversations. And when I say conversations, what I mean is the amount of times you're able to speak to sellers. So you need to be tracking how many conversations, how many times you're actually getting on the phone and having conversations. This could be a quality conversation or not. It could be a conversation where you get on the phone and they're like, you have a conversation with them and then they just decide, they start doing all that stuff and, getting upset with you and cursing at you and saying it's too low price, so on and so forth. So conversations, and my equation for conversations is conversations will always equal contracts. The more conversations you have, the more contracts in turn you will receive, the more deals you will close. You need to also be tracking your return on ad spend. So when we talked about strategy before, direct mail, right? You need to be tracking, okay, well, if I send 10,000 mailers, what do I make back in a 90-day cycle? What's my ROAS on that 10,000 mailers? What do I make back? You need to be able to track that. You need to track that consistently, because then what you're able to do is essentially buy more money. So if I know that 10,000 mailers over the course of 90 days, so let's say I sent 10,000 mailers in January, and then in March, how much did I make? If I was able to track from these reference numbers that I made $52,000, well, then I made 5.2x on my money. Well, does that mean that if I continue to send to these kind of parcels, this kind of area, these kind of markets, these kind of price points, can I consistently buy $52,000 with $10,000? That's what you need to be able to identify, but most people don't do that. You make it like this stroke of luck. And it's really important to understand that with these businesses, with a land investing business, it's not luck. All of it is tracked, all of it is trackable. All of these are problems that we can solve if we simply eliminate the dissonance. Now, tracking vigorously saved my life. Not just in my business, but just in my life. I track everything. I track every dollar that comes in, every dollar that comes out, everything we invest. I track my macros. I track my steps. My life is so dialed in so that I can be the best operator that I can possibly be. And you see, many of these lessons that I'm giving you not only apply to the land investing business, but they apply to your life as well. If you can eliminate dissonance in your life and identify exactly what you want in your life, then everything else becomes easy. Cash flow becomes easy. Money becomes easy. If you could take out all this confuzzle in your brain, all of this nonsense, if you can take that out of your brain and start to do these 4 things, life becomes easy, business becomes easy, cash flow becomes easy. If you need help building a profitable land investing business in 2025 or beyond, feel free to book in a strategy call below. My team and I will be happy to help, and I'll see you on the next. So ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to show you how to find 6-figure land deals using AI. And this has been one of the most powerful things that I have learned over the last year and a half from building my business, scaling my business, and also helping other people build and scale their businesses to multiple 6 figures in profit, 7 figures and beyond. So as you can see right now, I am on the Whitetail Properties real estate website. And why am I on the Whitetail Properties real estate website? Well, because Whitetail is one of the primary recreational property brokerages in the United States of America. So with that being said, there are going to be a lot of recreational hunting land kind of deals that are for sale and have in turn sold on Whitetail Properties. So I love to start out with Whitetail, and this is a part of a multi-step process. And first of all, where I like to be on the east side, I like to be in the south, and I like to be in the Midwest of America. What's important to understand about these kinds of deals, a lot of people don't think that this kind of land is even marketable or sellable. And you realize that it's actually the opposite when you look at the demand. So I always start with who's buying what and where are they buying it and at what price points. And if my goal is to do six-figure land deals, then I need to position myself in markets where deals are consistently selling for multiple six figures. So when you go here, I need to look at properties that have actually sold first. Not auctions, not for sale, not new, not pending. Sometimes I'll go pending, but for this purpose right now, I want to go sold. The only caveat to Whitetail is that it doesn't actually show you the sold values of these properties, but I'll show you how to find that in a minute. So if I'm looking for six-figure deals, my minimum price, what I want to see selling is $150,000. The max at 40 million, I don't really care about the max. I'm just going to go in here. Let's just start with Minnesota. So I see 122 properties have actually sold in this pocket. Let me zoom in here, and I'm just going to go where I see the most. So this pocket right here, 15. See 15, 18. So Douglas County, you got 40 acres selling in Douglas County. What I want to do is look at the property type first and foremost. And I want to look at the marketing. Private and secluded Alexandria area county acreage, 40 acres. Okay, interesting. It's tillable. So this is farmland. It's not ideally what I'm looking for. What I'm more looking for are properties that people can hunt on, because these assets, usually they're going to be selling at market value. So let's go back. Let's look here. Let's actually just hone in. Let's focus on Minnesota for this purpose. And you can apply this to essentially any state. And I'm going to also show you in this video how to watch out for any red tape that might be in that state. Let's go here. Let's say, what are we looking for? Let's just look here. Todd County, 48 acres. Here. Build, hunt, and fish on over half a mile of lake frontage on Big Swan Lake. This is the exact kind of asset that I'm looking for. 48 acres. Now, look at the marketing. This marketing isn't even the greatest marketing. The pictures are okay, but it's not the best marketing that it could possibly be. So that automatically that actually makes me really excited looking at this. The description is pretty good. What I'm going to do next is go over to Zillow. What county was this? So what we're going to do is go into Minnesota. We're going to go Todd County. As you can see, I already had preset things on here. So Todd County, I want to go Todd County, and I want to go 50 to 100 acres. And look at all these: $310,000, $580,000, $300,000, $225,000, $444,000. See, if you position yourself properly in markets where there's only six-figure deals and you're only making six-figure offers, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to come back? Now, the issue becomes, most people don't know how to brand themselves. Most people don't know how to position themselves. Most people don't know how to sell these kinds of properties. And most people don't know how to market themselves on the phone to these sellers in order to present themselves as the ultimate problem solver to whatever problem that they need to get out of in selling their property. And that becomes the issue. And that is why most people do these low-level deals where they're making $15,000, $10,000, even $3,000. You see, the other thing I want to say too is you get these big promises of doing deals that, you make 10 grand, you make 15 grand. It's just all this volume, just do a lot of volume and just keep on doing deals, keep doing deals. But it's diminishing returns, because after all of your expenses, everything, you end up with 3 grand. You end up with $1,500 net. That's what a lot of these people don't tell you. Now, with this, it's the same exact expenses for a $10,000 deal, maybe a little bit more than it is for a $100,000 deal. How do I know? Because I've done it multiple times. So I might spend $10,000 to get this entire deal done, but I make $130,000. You see, when you increase your margins that you actually go after, the profit that you make increases by tenfold. So the other thing I want to do is go into Minnesota, and I want to see how long these properties have actually taken to sell. So at 310,000, again, big advantages in this market because the marketing here is not even that good. It's not that good. I'll give this marketing a 5 out of 10. Description is not that great. Let's see, what does this have here? Utilities, no utilities. These are all things that you want to do as you're searching for markets. This is interesting. This is very interesting. So this thing sold in less than a month, and it sold over the asking price. That's a really good thing. Now, how do they market this? Private building site, hobby farm, hunting retreat, or recreational spot. So what I'm looking for, and it sold really quickly. So immediately, I know that this is a market that I want to enter into because there is demand here, right? But I haven't even gotten through all the other ones. 580,000, this looks like more of a farming parcel here. Let's see, productive farmland. Does have hunting potential. That's good. Let's see. So listed for sale. Wow, a lot of these are selling for over the asking price. Listed for 480,000, sold at 580,000. It's also good. What was this? Let me see. Let's keep on looking. This actually has good marketing here. This is what I would consider way better marketing. And the reason why I'm saying, for those of you that are wondering, like, why is he saying it's not good marketing? I always want to see at least an overlay, an outline on every property that we list. That is like key branding. You have to make sure that you have an outline on every single property that you list. And there's a few things that we do to our photos as well to just make sure that they stand out amongst the rest of the photos that I don't see are being done here. 76 acres, $301,000. Again, listed. So you see, this is how you find like ridiculous markets. And I've done this so many times at this point that I can do this in 5-10 minutes, but this is practice. You have to identify the demand. You have to know where you're targeted at. You have to know what kind of deals you want to get. And that's how you do this. So look, I just pulled 3 different properties in this market that listed, sold within a month, and all 3 of them sold for a higher price than what they were currently asking, than what the seller was asking for. That is exactly what you want, because that means that there's demand in this area. So you go and list a property at $275,000 that you entered in at $175,000. It's very likely that you'll get offers over your asking price as you go in here. So yeah, this is already a market that I'm going to go into, and I'm just going to show you guys this process one time through and through. And if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you need help implementing exactly how we find multiple 6-figure land deals on a consistent basis and how I help my clients find 6-figure land deals on a consistent basis, book in a strategy call below and me and my team will be happy to help. So same thing right here, listed at 300,000, sold at 300,000 in a month. So the next thing I'm going to do, and this is where the AI starts to take part. What I want to do, and this is with any county you can do this, right? What I want to do is this. I am researching a county, Todd County, Minnesota. I need you to help me identify any potential red tape in buying and selling land in that specific area. I'm specifically going after recreational land in the $150,000 sold all the way up to the multiple 7 figures sold. I've seen multiple times in this county that properties are selling in the multi 6-figure range in less than a month. What I want you to do though, I want you to identify any issues I might run into, whether it be with title companies, whether it might be with regulations. Also, I'm curious about the double closing rules in this area as well. So if you could give me a list of things that I may need to watch out for as I send to this market, that would be helpful. The other thing that I'm looking for is, what is the average archetype of person that owns these assets, and what could be the average amount of problems that they could potentially have? If you could give me all that information in a succinct report, that would be very helpful. So it's really important with the AI to start a dialogue, and I've trained my AI to do a lot for me that specifically helps me with the land investing business. So it's going to be really important to give as much context as you possibly can. The reason why I'm having it do this is because it's really important for you to understand as you go into markets that what potential issues you could run into, because a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people don't think about the potential issues they could run into, and then you start to run into those issues, and then it's like, oh my God, I didn't know that you couldn't perk properties for most of the year. Like in Maryland, as an example, you can only perk properties for like 3 months out of the entire year. So let's check this out, what it has to say. These are all really good things for you to know. So when you go into these markets, you don't want to have any red flags pop up or any surprises pop up. You already know. You see, you have to be able to study each one of your markets, especially at this level, in order to know what's going to come back. And then when it comes back, to be able to be educated enough with a seller so that you can talk to them in a way that makes you feel like a local to them. Because when you can do that, it becomes extremely easy for you to position yourself in these markets amongst all the rest of your competition. Because most people are not going to do this at all. It's just like, oh, I mailed it and then it came back and they wanted 500 grand and I didn't know how to negotiate. That's why you're not getting these kinds of deals. It's given me a lot of information here. Shoreline zoning, septic. I mean, this is all the information it gives you. Double closing support varies by title company, as I thought. Yep, so 2 sets of closings there. If I were to double close, I just want to know, like, I want to be aware of every single one of my exit strategies. So instead of me asking all the time, I kind of just know. You just want to know by just going into your AI and asking it, like, hey, how does this specific area, how does this specific county handle these kind of things? These are things that I want to be able to do. Market fit, owner archetypes, people that have a second home. That's good to know. Why is it good to know that they have a second home? Because then they're downsizing. Well, then if I know that they're downsizing, I can position myself in those areas, in those markets to buy from them. Yep, inherited, aging, septic well compliance at sale, shoreline vegetation violations. Yep. What is the exact age? 42, 42.8 is the median age. Okay. So you see how easy this all becomes. Now, what I will do from here, there are multiple different ways that you can do this, but let's say you want to write a targeted mailer, a targeted branded mailer at these specific owner archetypes. How exactly would you do that? How would you make it so that it's just not some one size fits all and the person who opens it, when you make a $150,000 offer or a $200,000 offer, the person who actually opens it feels like you're speaking directly to them? Because if we can make them feel like you're talking directly to them, then what are they going to do? They're going to call you. And even if they don't call you right then and there, they will eventually call because it speaks directly to them. This is why we have sellers calling us and saying, man, I feel like you were talking directly to me and your letter just really stood out amongst these other 20 letters that I have here. And I get all these texts and I get all these cold calls. Why? Because we're thinking about it at this deep of a level. Now, when I go in here, I want you to do this. And then I'm also going to give the AI one of our mailer templates for context. You are a world-class direct response copywriter who specializes in generating responses from the archetypes above using specifically the direct mail methodology. Write me a page based also on the template that I have provided that speaks directly to these archetypes. Boom. So now you see, you can also write your mailers with Claude and you can give it exactly what you want it to say so that it's speaking to a specific kind of person. And you can change this. Let's say I wanted to speak to a company. I want to position myself more as a well-wised investment firm who specializes specifically
plays reflect that. Yeah. So you see how specific this is getting. And you can do this with any market, any property, and you can also like template this out so that, okay, now you've identified the common issues that they may be having, then you can place those issues into the mailer. It gets so deep when you think about it in this level. Now I am saying, okay, our acquisition team has identified your vacant parcel through Todd County Public Records as meeting. So how did you find my property? There you go. I'm answering all of your objections in this very thing. So this is how we write out our mailers, especially when we want to position ourselves properly in markets. You need to give yourself the best chance possible. So you using these regular templates, you not branding your mailer properly. The copy is one thing. The copy is half the battle. The other part of it is actually branding your mailers. So most people don't know how to brand their mailers. Most people don't know how to actually create a story on who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, and how they can help. So even when you go from mailer to website, what does that look like? And this is a thing that a lot of people get confused on. And if you need help branding your land investing business properly, feel free to book in a strategy call and I'd be happy to help. So from there, what you want to be able to do is pull your data set. So if I know that 50 to 100 acres in Todd County was selling for, let's say we were saying $300,000 and above, well then my goal is going to be to position myself to offer 50% of that market value at $150,000, right? So let's say our all-in expenses on this is going to be about $45,000 to actually get this deal closed. That will come out of the deal. So you can expect your net profits to be after expenses $105K. First of all, you do 10 deals like this in 1 year, you're absolutely crushing it. And if you want to see a more hands-on breakdown of deals that I've done exactly like this, you can scroll through my YouTube channel. I have multiple six-figure deal breakdowns as well. So what you'll have to do is find anywhere from 10 to 15 counties exactly like this that follow the same rules, that also make sure that the demand is 50 to 100% more than the supply. And if you have that, then you have a good market. So what are we looking for with good markets? That's really important. We found one here, but just so you guys know, we're looking for demand. So I want to see that properties are consistently selling. Second, I want to see that properties are consistently selling 50 to 100% more than they're actually for sale. Third, if I want to do six-figure land deals, I need to make sure that the prices in these areas are selling in the six-figure range. They've got pretty good marketing and they're all selling in 90 days or less. So this market, Todd County, Minnesota, actually has all of this. You can use PropStream to do this. You can use DataTree to do this. You can use LandVision to do this. There are so many different ways that you can pull your data. I personally use LandVision to pull my data, and we have a bunch of different subscriptions with other data platforms as well. So it all works as long as you're following the rules. And this is what I want to emphasize. The data platform that you're using does not really matter. I mean, you might really like the UI, and that's why I'm not showing that today, because it doesn't really matter. I want you guys to focus on the strategical rules of getting it done. So if you focus on the strategical rules of getting it done, regardless of where you pull from, you're gonna get very similar results. So what have we done today? We have picked a really good market. We have figured out how to master our direct mail copy using AI. We have also gone through that market and looked for any red tape that might potentially be in that market that could stop us from doing deals. We've looked at the average archetype of person that's in the area. We've done all of these things step by step. Now, what do we have to do from here? What you'd have to do now is send your direct mail. So you have to get your mail out. And again, you're doing this with 10 to 15 different markets, and you should be sending this mail out consistently. It shouldn't just be like, okay, I sent out one mailer and now I'm hoping and praying. It should be, if I'm gonna do 1,500 a week, 2,000 a week, whatever it is, but I have to do it every single week. Let's just say you're gonna start with 3,000 mailers a week. Now that actually needs to be consistent for about 6 months. And within that 6 months, multiple six-figure deals are going to fill your pipeline. It is inevitable for this to happen if you followed all the steps from before. Now, as these deals start to come into your pipeline, it is really important to understand the acquisitions side of this, because acquisitions is by far the most important part about getting multiple six-figure deals under contract and actually closing them. So as a part of acquisitions, what do you need to know? You need to know that, first of all, acquisitions is all about how you look to your seller. So even if you're the best person on the phone, if your branding and your marketing is not correct, they won't even give you a call, because this level of person is really doing their best, especially at this point in their life, to close things up and do everything that they possibly can to not get scammed. They're trying to protect their assets, they're trying to protect everything, and they don't really want to talk to you. So if you do not come correct, it's going to be really difficult for you to get any deals like this. So in your mailer, I showed you how to build authority. So you've already built authority. When you speak to sellers, you need to be able to create trust. You need to be able to build rapport. And you need to be able to identify their main problem. Because when you can do all four of these things, and especially identify their main problem, then every time it's like, oh, well, I don't want to sell, or I want to cancel the door, or I don't want to do this, or I want to do that, or something is going awry, then you can always come back to identifying their main problem and saying, well, hey, you want to sell because of X, and I can help you through my solution. You need to know how to frame your solution around their problem. If you can frame your solution around their problem, it's going to be extremely easy for you to get deals done. Now, when talking to sellers, how do you build authority? By showing them that you've done it before and explaining things in the market that you've already done research on. How do you create trust? By asking them questions about themselves, asking them questions about the property, asking them questions about what you can do to serve them. That's where we want to go. You always want to lead from the place of how can you help them. When you lead from the place of how can you help, it becomes extremely easy to create trust, build rapport, and identify their problems. These are the four things that you need to be able to do to get properties under contract on a consistent basis. Now, what kind of questions am I asking about a property? Especially a six-figure one. And this is the other thing too. When you have a property like this and a profile like this, you need to already have research done. By the time you get on the phone with a person like this, you need to be completely buttoned up, because if you're buttoned up completely, then it's like, oh, wow, he really knows what he's talking about. So I'm asking about septic. I'm asking last time they visited the property. I'm asking if they have kids, if the kids want it. Brothers, sisters, do brothers and sisters want it? Do brothers and sisters have title to it? Is it in a trust? I'm asking about electric. Especially if it's a hunting property, I'm asking what kind of game can be hunted on the property. Because when you say that, when you use jargon that is local to this area, and that's also something that we do, we're able to identify the jargon that's used in some of these areas and use that jargon with the seller, so then they think that you're a local. This stuff is more powerful. Like, I don't think you truly understand how good the land investing business has become because of the things that we've been able to do with AI and like using it to our advantage. And I also, again, I want to know why they're selling. Why are you selling? Like, that's a really big point. Why are you selling? Or are you just picking my brain? If you're picking my brain, that's fine. You should still add value to that seller, even if it's like a brain pick conversation. Oh, I just wanted to see, like, sometimes we have people that are like, well, why do you guys send these offers? And then I've had people that get mad about that. Like, why are they asking me that? Because you're just focused on making money. You're not focused on solving problems. When you focus on making money as opposed to solving problems, it becomes very difficult for you. So these are all the questions that we're asking them. Septic, last time they visited it, kids, brothers, sisters, trust, electric. All these things are things I want to ask about water as well.
Is it city water? Is it well? Like, these are all things that I'm asking sellers. And when you can package all this together, you're asking them those questions, you know absolutely everything about the property. You also know about them, because when you ask someone about their kids or their brothers and sisters or personal things about them, what do they do for work? What do you do for work? I also want to know what your income is like. Because if I know what your income is like, maybe things are not as liquid as you'd like them to be. And for someone like this, that maybe is well capitalized enough to buy a multi-six-figure property, well, maybe there's a reason why you have to sell. I also want to ask about 1031. Have you identified something else that has you wanting to sell this property? So I'm asking about the 1031 exchange as well. Do you know that? And the other thing too, with this, a lot of people are worried about the capital gains taxes with a $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000 property. So with that, what we're going to say is, like, you know, you can 1031 exchange this and avoid the capital gains taxes. And the title company can help you do that. As long as you identify a property within this window of time, the title company will help you. So you can do that. You see, it's a really different conversation. And these are all the things that we're talking to sellers about. It's extensive, but if you're able to cover all of these points, then you're going to be able to know a seller well enough to get them under contract, to negotiate with them. And also, of course, price. Price is extremely important. Price is going to allow you to make as much money as you possibly can. And you also have to understand when to negotiate, why to negotiate. Do it early. With these kinds of deals, you want to be able to negotiate earlier, sooner rather than later. Don't just make a high offer if you know you can't close at that offer. It's not about just getting deals under contract. It's about getting deals under contract that we can later profit from on the market. Now, in this video, I have showed you how to select killer markets for multi-six-figure land deals. I have showed you how to identify rules that are going to help you get these multi-six-figure land deals. I've shown you how to write the copy specifically for these seller profiles. I've shown you what to say to those seller profiles as well. Now, these are the basic principles of how we find six-figure land deals with AI, but there is an amalgamation of other stuff, extensive stuff that I teach directly to my clients one-on-one at Landburst. And if you want to be a client of mine, feel free to book in the strategy call below, and I'd be happy to help you. Now, I know that some people that may be watching this video might be wholesalers or might be wholesaling land, so they don't understand how this model works. We list our properties back on the MLS. So when I was going in the beginning and I found that market and I saw what sold, I already found my buyers. My buyers are there. So I don't keep a list of cash buyers. I keep a list of very professional land specific brokers. They list my property on the MLS for me. And that is the best way to find buyers. The MLS is the best real estate buyer network that exists. So you're not doing this thing where you're calling these builders or buyers. That's not this. We reverse engineer the process. So when we get these deals under contract, we know exactly how we're going to dispo them. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment anything that was insightful, helpful for you. If you have any questions, ask the questions. I'd be happy to help. And I'll see you guys in. So you're a land investor that's trying to scale past $50,000 a month and you don't know where to start. You feel lost, you feel confused. Well, here's exactly what I did to scale my business past that level and into the multi-seven-figure level, into doing multiple six-figure deals, and also helping many of my clients do the exact same thing. You see, the first thing you have to understand is that it's about the analysis of your data. You see, most people don't do any post-mortem on any of their deals. They don't go back and see what went right on this deal, what went wrong on this deal. Most people don't do that. Every single deal that I've ever had, every deal, no matter what, whether it was a failure or a success, you always go back and do a full analysis on why that deal succeeded or why that deal failed. And as long as you do that, then you have continuous data to go back and tell yourself, okay, well, this person was this age, they were this demographic, and they were in this area, and this was their reason for selling. Well, when you know that, and you can create these kinds of profiles on people, which is what we call seller profiles. So when you just do that alone, you're able to build consistency in your business. And this is the thing. I see people going through a lot of cash crunches in the land business where they'll make a bunch of money in 1 month and then 3 months passes and you don't make any other money. Well, you have to be able to put systems in place so that every single month you're profitable and you're cash flowing. And as long as you're doing that, you're winning. So what exactly does this look like? You need to be able to build systems around each part of the business.
market selection, marketing, acquisitions, and dispositions. Now, if you do this consistently, if you do this in every single point of your business, then you're gonna have consistent cash flow. So what does this mean for market selection? When you pick any market, you need to have a specific desired outcome from that market. You see, most people just pick markets because, oh, it's a hot zone here, it's a hot zone there, this is hot, this is hot, this is cold, oh, the sold for sale is this. First of all, as long as you follow the rules, specific rules of making sure that demand is 50 to 100% more than supply, just that basic rule. If you follow that rule and make sure that properties in that area are also selling for $100,000 or more, you will be in a good position to have properties bought and sold on a consistent basis. So just follow those two rules alone. And when it comes to market selection, you need to be able to set goals for what you want out of that market. So if it's, I want to make $100,000, I want to make 250 grand, I want to make $50,000 from this market. You need to be able to set that goal so that you can go in and dice and slice the market to a point where you can see the deals. Every time I go on with a market selection call with any client, that's what I do. Okay, so what's your goal for this? So if your goal is to make $300,000 in this market, you can't be offering $20,000 and selling properties for $50,000. You can't be offering 60 grand and selling for 120 grand. So if the average exit price of properties is 120, $200,000, $50,000. If it's not in the range where you can make $250,000 or more, you shouldn't be aiming at those kinds of markets. You see, most people just randomize the land investing game when it's not a randomized game. All this stuff is extremely calculated if you just set goals in your mind and you set frameworks around what you're doing. You see, it actually becomes really simple. The same thing with marketing. What is your goal in the next 6 to 8 months with your marketing? How much money do you want to make? If you say, hey, I want to be able to make 300, 400, 500, I want to be able to make $1 million. Well then, if you're just sending out 1,000 mailers here and there and just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, then you're not going to get that result. So you need to have a staggered plan of marketing. Every client that comes into Landverse, we have them on a staggered plan of marketing. So if they are a more advanced business, I work with businesses that are doing multiple 6 figures in profit per year. I also work with businesses that will do 7 figures this year. And one thing that I've realized with all of these businesses is we set plans for marketing. So if we're gonna be at point A right now, by next quarter, we're gonna be at this point. And this is how we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there by strategizing. We're gonna get there by talking on the phone. We're gonna get there by making sure we're consistently talking to our leads. And so here's the thing. A lot of people are running their businesses like they are just hustles. And like, hopefully I win the lottery today. Hopefully. It's a lot of hope instead of knowing exactly where you're going. And this is why I have clients at Landverse who are making multiple 6 figures in profit on just one deal, because they know exactly where they're going, because we actually sat down, drew out a plan for them to get to where they wanted to go. We know our goals. So when you know your goals, it's really easy to get to the goal. When you're just kind of hustling for this and that, and then you're switching between infill lots and switching between that and this and that and all these different things, instead of just focusing on one strategy, dialing in on that strategy and making sure you hit that point as quickly as possible, and auditing things along the way. So when it comes to acquisitions, do you even record your calls? 99.9% of the people that we take strategy calls with at Landverse do not record their calls. This is a staggering statistic. How do you expect to run a multiple 6, multiple 7-figure business if you can't even analyze your conversations? You realize that every single part of this business is about analyzation, from market selection all the way to dispositions. And as you're able to improve that process, you're able to get deals done faster and at a more profitable rate. The other thing with acquisitions as well is you should spend every single week, every Sunday, you should spend going over your calls. This is what I used to do, and I actually still do this with my team now. I still review calls. I go in and look at tonality. I listen to how they're negotiating. I listen to if you're just being kind of a pushover and not making that offer. Oh, okay, well, I can only do 50,000. Okay, well, no worries, I don't think it'll work. Instead of saying, okay, really, well, what I see in this area is anywhere from 30 to 35. That's more what I can do. I'm just gonna be realistic. Like, cash in your pocket today, does $30,000 to $35,000 work for you? Most of the time, if you push back on sellers, they will oblige. I literally had a call with another client the other day who was telling me this same exact thing. He had a seller at $100,000. He was gonna double close this deal and sell it for $140,000. He ends up negotiating after I said, man, just go negotiate that deal. You're gonna need it at like 30 to 35. That's what I told him. You'll need it at 30 to 35. He went back, he negotiated it, he got it at $30,000.
We got on a call the other day and he's like, honestly, I didn't think that was gonna happen, but you told me to do it and it happened. I used the script and it happened. This is how you build a business. You don't build a business by being a pushover. You don't build a business by just taking no for an answer. You build a business by forcing your way through. You build a business by analyzation. As long as you can analyze every part of your business, this is what happens. You get amazing results. The other thing too is you expect to get deals done and you've only talked to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people. You have to be able to talk to more people. The more people you talk to, the more conversations you have, the more situations for profitability that you create. And if you don't do this, then you'll never be at the point where you can have a team that you can delegate this off to. You need to be able to have a level of mastery at all these pillars so that you can then go off and delegate to A players who are going to make sure that your business is cash flowing no matter where you are, what you're doing, how you're doing. It doesn't matter, the business cash flows because you put systems in place. And this is what I've been able to build, which has given me a life that I would have never even imagined. Now, when it comes to selling properties, it's actually funny because right before I started filming this video, I saw a property that I bought a few years ago for $250,000 that's been on the market now for a year for about $540,000. So I bought this property. I've talked about it on the channel before. I bought this property for $250,000. I sold it for $600,000. It's now listed on the market after a year for less than what I bought it for. Now, when I look at the marketing absolutely sucks. It's terrible. It's horrible. I look at this marketing, I'm just like, wow. This is exactly why we're able to be in this position. This is exactly why I'm able to make so much money flipping land. It's why our clients are doing the exact same thing, because we know how to market our properties. So from the beginning, from market selection and marketing, we know how to market to sellers to actually get them to call, close them at 30 to 50% of the market value. But then on the other end, we know how to sell our properties on the market to the highest and likely best buyer profiles. Now, imagine this. Somebody came in to our buyer funnel. They offered $600,000. We closed. Now this exact same property with this exact same buyer is on the market for way less and has been on the market for way longer than what we had it listed for. This is the key of marketing. This is why I always say, paint a picture for your highest likely buyer profile. If you're not doing that, then you have properties sitting forever. And this is why we're able to be in the market and make so much money. Now, when you master all these things, then you're able to delegate those off to key players, and we have systems in place at Landverse in order for you to do that. This is a cash flow business like no other. This is a business that I've been able to personally use to fuel many different investments, grow my investment portfolio, take care of my family, travel. It's literally done all that. I've looked at so many other business models and I keep coming back to land investing for a reason. I keep educating you guys about land investing for a reason because this truly has changed my life and has changed many of my other clients' lives. And if you want to be a person that's able to build great wealth from this business model and build it into a cash flowing business model for yourself so that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, have the business of your dreams, have the investment portfolio of your dreams, book a strategy call below and I'd be happy to help you. $30,000 within 24 hours flipping land. Absolutely insane, but honestly, it's normal to me at this point. And I'm gonna show you guys exactly how I did it. So the main themes of today are going to be pricing, positioning, equaling profit. Now, this deal was a deal that I bought for $35,000 and resold for $65,000. And within 24 hours, we had a full price cash offer at $65,000. It might sound crazy, but by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly how to do it consistently, and build a business that frees up your time, cash flows, so that you never have to worry about money for the rest of your days. So I actually got this deal with an SMS text blast using Launch Control. And a lot of people actually think that texting is illegal, but it's not. At my company currently, we send out over 100,000 text messages per month and get deals just like this every single month. The lead came from a text, indicated that they wanted to sell. We spoke to that lead, got the lead under contract, and then relisted the property on the market. One thing that's really important to note is that if you want to consistently do deals that yield these kinds of results, you need to also consistently be marketing and talking to sellers. So because I'm able to consistently market with Launch Control, sending out text messages, or with Postcard Mania, sending out mail, I consistently get opportunities like this. The more you market, the more you talk to sellers, the more opportunities that you have. Don't ever turn off your marketing machine. If you feel like you're not getting results with your marketing, you need to be tracking, okay, how many conversations am I actually having? Because most of the time, it's either your market or the conversations that you're having that are leading to a lack of results. Now, when it comes to listing the property on the market so that it sells within 24 hours, the two key things to understand are pricing and positioning on the market. Now, with pricing, I always make sure that we price aggressively on the market. If the average comparables in the area are for sale for $75,000, $80,000, I'm gonna list at $69,000, $65,000. I'm always gonna be aggressive. And so I also have to be aggressive in my acquisition price. You see, when you can be anywhere from 10 to 15, even 20% under what the market is currently saying, when properties are sitting there for days and days, then you're positioning yourself to actually sell really quickly on the market. Pricing is very important. It's really important also not to count phantom profits. This is when you list a property thinking like, oh yeah, this will sell, no problem. And then 60 days pass, 75 days pass, 90 days pass, and you haven't sold the property. This is a big problem with most land investors that I see, is that they'll outprice themselves on the market. So you'll list a property for $70 or $80 or $90,000 when really you should have started at 65, so that way you can sell the property quickly. I see this so much. And then you have listings for 150 days, 200 days, and unfortunately you've already mentally spent the money, so now you really have to sell this property. Remember, we're running a business. I'm not in the vanity game of like, okay, well, let me try to juice out the most max profit that I think I might be able to get. Always underprice, at least a little bit. Undercut the market so that you can sell fast. But that's not all. You also need to position yourself on the market correctly. Well, what does that mean? What does positioning mean? How do you position yourself so that you can sell as fast as humanly possible? Well, with the best marketing, with crisp photos, and focusing on the property. Marketing that actually focuses on the property. You see, I'll put up a picture here of the property and of some of the marketing that we got. And if you look at this marketing, compared to most other marketing that I see people have, it's just general photos of the land most of the time. They don't actually focus on the property. So as a buyer, I can't even see what the property is. I don't know what the utility is. I just don't know. And so if I don't know, then how am I going to be inclined to actually make an offer? I'm not going to be inclined to make an offer. And so these are things that I think about in terms of marketing. I've become extremely good at marketing properties on the market just because I've studied this. I've studied this for hours and hours and hours, and I've also done this hundreds of times. And so you realize what makes a buyer tick. You realize what makes a buyer actually call and make an offer and even make a full price cash offer. And what makes them do that is positioning, storytelling, and really great marketing. If you consistently do all three of those things, you're gonna sell properties faster than anyone else. So you have to always think, how can I best sell this property on the market? And again, I talk about dispositions a lot and positioning, and this is how you guys know it's not theory. If you go through a lot of my deal case studies showing you guys HUDs, it's not theory. I really do this, and I'm the best at it. And so when you position yourself on the market to sell quickly, what happens is you start getting full price cash offers within less than 24 hours. That's what happens. The other thing too is listing descriptions as well. Positioning has a lot to do with the story that you tell on the property, not just in the photos, but in the listing description. And I'll put the listing description up here so you can see it. Extremely detailed. Extremely detailed. It shows you exactly what the property is. It tells you a story about the property. So that you can understand why you should buy it. It's a sales pitch. These are all sales pitches. That's all this is. So when you understand and start looking at your properties as products, and I think this is a big issue in the land flipping space, is that you see these things as like, almost like they mean something to you. It's nothing but a product. And it should not be anything more than a product to you. And your job is to sell this inventory as fast as possible. And I think about my land business as a business. It's a business. I have inventory. I send out marketing. I get my inventory back. I sell my inventory as fast as possible. That's the game that we're in. And listen, as long as I'm doing anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 in minimum profit per property, I'm good. That's fine. And in that, I know I'm gonna do deals where I make $70K, $80K, $100K, $200,000, so on and so forth. That just happens. But you need to think like this is a business. I gotta move my inventory quickly, so every single listing needs to look like that's your brand. That's so important. Like, your branding needs to be that you can see your listing in this state and in that state and in this state in 3 different states, and you know that that's your listing based upon how it looks. So start being really good. Start getting really good at being intentional of marketing your properties exactly like this. Because if you do it consistently, your properties are gonna sell really fast. That's just what happens. The other thing too is also just getting a really good land broker. You need to have really good land specific brokers if you're gonna sell properties this quickly. If you don't have good land specific brokers, it is gonna be harder for you to sell your properties faster. It just will be. And the problem is a lot of people pick brokers that are not land specific. They pick brokers that are, maybe they do houses on the side. Maybe they do this on the side, that on the side. If you don't have land specific brokers, it's going to be harder for you to sell your properties, because you got to think, if let's say this broker primarily does houses, well, they don't know land jargon. They don't know how to talk about land to a prospective buyer. They have absolutely no idea. And honestly, the best way to find land specific brokers is by going on sold comparables. Go on sold comparables, look at how quickly property sold, look at the marketing of the properties, make sure that it's in alignment with how you would market your property, and reach out to that broker and make those connections. My dispo manager's sole job and purpose, one of them, is to literally do this all day. If we're not making constant connections with brokers, then what are we doing? We need to be making consistent connections with brokers. Make connections, make connections. As long as you can continuously make connections with good quality brokers, build trust, build relationships, build rapport with good quality brokers, your inventory will always fly off the shelves. It will, because most people don't do that. So honestly, this really was a simple deal. It's what I call a cookie cutter deal, and it's what I call easy profit. And if you follow these principles, you're gonna be able to make $30,000, per deal, on a deal, consistently, and it's gonna become really easy for you, just like it has for me.
Welcome back to Landverse, the channel where we dive deep into the world of land flipping and teach our clients how to make a 6- and 7-figure income through scaling a land business. Today, I'm gonna tell you guys a story about how I made $300,000 on one land deal. But first, I'm gonna answer a question. I've been getting a lot of questions about our business and how it's different from assigning a contract or wholesaling real estate. My answer to that is it is very different from wholesaling real estate because we're actually buying the assets and reselling them on the market. So I'm actually gonna close escrow on a property before I go and actually sell it. I'm buying it completely and then I'm reselling it. I haven't assigned a contract in years. When you actually buy the property, it gives you so much more control over the asset than you would have had if you just assigned a contract. When you assign a contract, it really gives you only one exit strategy. When I actually buy the property and take possession or take title of the property, I have way more control over what I'm gonna do with the property from there. Now, we usually end up selling it for way more money, but also please understand that your profits and margins are so much larger when you buy the property because you don't have a buyer that's gonna be looking at your assignment fee saying, you can't make $30,000 on this deal. You can only make 10. I came from the wholesaling world and I actually had that issue where people were saying, 10,000, that's it. You can't have any more than that. Obviously, those are bad people to work with, but you just completely avoid that when you buy the asset. Now, you might be worrying about I don't have $50,000. I don't have $100,000 to buy this property. Well, you're in luck because we fund land deals. We fund land deals at any price as long as it's a good deal. If you bring me a good deal that has good numbers on the deal, I will fund the deal for you in full. I'll buy the deal, we'll JV the deal, and we'll go and close on the deal, and then we'll sell it. I'll take you through the process of getting it sold start to finish, and I will use all of my resources and all my connections to make sure that they sell fast. It's my highest priority to make sure that anyone who watches my content fully understands how to flip land start to finish. This was a property that we bought for $350,000 and sold for $600,000 on the market. So actually, after expenses, it was a $250,000 profit deal. This property in particular was in a prominent area known as Wine Country, Sonoma County. And I grew up a few hours from that area, and my mother actually loves wine, so I knew about this area, and I knew that property was very expensive in this area. So I was constantly trying to find larger six-figure deals in this area and going through the data processor, looking at comparables. My goal actually originally was to buy and sell a vineyard because I didn't really know much about it. But I also saw like a lot of recreational property and a lot of buildable property that was in the area was selling quite an expensive price. So I filtered it out so that the list was absentee owner, meaning that the owner doesn't actually live on the property, which usually we have that anyways, but I also put out of state. Ultimately, what I was looking for in this data set was an out of state owner. I know if there's an out of state owner and they're not an entity or a single person, then they're more likely to be motivated to sell their property. Now this lead came in and this guy was actually living in England. So his daughter received our marketing for him. She called him in England, and then he called us from England. It was the craziest thing ever. I was like, you're calling me from England? And he had moved from England. So this individual had actually gotten a divorce, packed up, and moved to England. And he called us saying that he wants to sell the property, but he wants to be able to sell it at, I think we had originally offered him around $175,000, and he called saying that he wanted $350,000. So I ran the comps and the numbers just made sense. He had also actually had this for sale for $900,000. I think in 2012, he had it for sale for $900,000. And I remember just being like, wow, so he wants $350,000 now. What is wrong with this property? I was thinking that something was wrong with the property. So we ran comps, we talked to locals in the area to make sure that what can we really sell this for? So a local came back to us and said she thinks we can sell it for $800,000. And I wasn't too confident in that number, but she's a local, she lives there, she sold property there. So I said, okay, $800,000. We ended up getting this property under contract for $350,000 and closing on it for $350,000 with the seller. Now we had a listing agreement signed with this agent at $875,000. And we were gonna kind of see how it would work on the market. This was one of my early on land deals. So I'm thinking like, I'm about to make $500,000-600 grand off of one land deal. Like, what? That's insane. I was like, this is crazy, like off of one land deal. But also, please keep in mind, like I did the research for this, like hours and hours and hours of research. There's an element of luck when it comes to this, but there's also that element of like intense inherent research. So you can literally look at data sets, you can look at data points, you can look at the market and say, you know what? I see an opportunity here. There's $200,000 right here for me if I send mail to this specific area. So that's what you guys have to understand. Like, yes, there's an element of luck to this. There is. But I will also say that if you consistently send out mail and you consistently understand how to do research and you talk to locals and you understand markets, you understand utility of property, if you understand those simple things, you will make millions of dollars in the land flipping business. You have to be able to understand those things though. And on top of that, having the conversations with these people. I had to set it up so that this seller could go to the US Embassy in England to get this deal done. So you guys gotta be willing to do that. This guy went to the US Embassy in England to get this deal done. He went and signed the papers in England at the US Embassy. That's what it takes to be successful in this business. So we ended up closing on this property at $350,000. We listed it at $875,000 with the broker. We took drone shots of the property. We took photos of the property. We tried to make sure that the marketing was the best it could possibly be because this is a premium product. This is a premium property. $875,000 in Sonoma County, in wine country, prominence, elegance, opulence. That's what we're promoting. That's what I'm promoting to this area. There were a few problems with this property though, and the fact that it was a little bit sloped. The property had access, but the access was just a little bit, it wasn't what you'd be looking for if you're trying to build, you know, maybe a multi-million-dollar house on a property. It wouldn't be your first choice, right? So I remember there being a gate. There was a gate going into the property, and then when you actually get into the property was overgrown. And we didn't know this until after we listed it, because the guy hadn't been there in years. So we didn't know that it was overgrown. And then the realtor didn't actually walk the property because she was so confident. She was like, this is gonna sell for $800,000, like easy, like 2 months, easy. So her confidence was my misstep, honestly. Like her being that confident, I was that confident too. I was like, hey, well, you're the local, you live there. I believe you. She didn't actually go there until she listed the property so she could take pictures. And then I get a call saying, hey, you know, this property is overgrown. I can't get to the property, so I don't know how to get to it. So now we're freaking out. I'm trying to call the neighbors. Keep in mind, this property is actually listed on the market now. And I am like, whoa, like, okay, so this money's just been invested, 350 grand, great. You're telling me it's overgrown, you can't get to the property now. Okay, so I remember just thinking, all right, well,
call the neighbors. What do we have to do? So she starts calling the neighbors, making sure there's access easements and all this stuff, which was already insured to us by title. All we had to do was go and get an excavator. So an excavator is someone who goes in and clears up, branches, bushes, all that stuff. They clear it out and make sure that, all that stuff is all good. I'll put it all up here, but I think we paid $3,000 to $4,000 for the excavator, and they cleared out all the shrubbery, all the brush, everything like that. So there was a clear path to walk to the property. But there was still a lot of things overgrown on the property. I think I still might have videos from that time, and if I do, I'll put them in here. So we start getting leads on the property, but all the sentiments are that, hey, it's too high. This is where I learned that the way you make money in this business is by pricing aggressively and making sure that your acquisition prices with your sellers are aggressive enough and low enough to where you can drop your price and have a lower price and still have a crazy profit margin. A lot of people will mess up and offer too much money for a property just because they're like, I gotta get a deal, I gotta get a deal, I gotta get a deal, but it's not about that. You wanna make sure that you can be the cheapest priced property in the area. We're not trying to be Louis Vuitton. This is Walmart. This is not Louis Vuitton. We're trying to sell wholesale properties. We're not trying to sell the most premium $50 million properties. This game is a game of dropping the price, being aggressive with your pricing, being the lowest in the game, and selling the properties fast. The faster you sell your properties, the more cash you'll make. And this was my first mistake with that. I was trying so hard to max out that specific property. The property ended up sitting for 6 months. Now, we dropped the price to $700, no offer. We dropped the price to $650, no offer. And I remember calling the agent and saying, hey, look, we need to sell this property. Let's drop it to $600,000. She said, oh, I don't really know. No, I'm not sure. I don't know if we should do that. And, She dropped it to $600,000. Within 24 hours, we had a full priced offer. So this is what you guys have to understand. The market will tell you everything you need to know about your property, and you need to listen. If you don't listen to the market, your property will always sit. I promise. Your property will sit for months if you don't listen to the market. Okay, market's telling me something. Let me listen and let me drop my price now. Let me be more aggressive. Did I make sure with the seller that I negotiated to the best of my ability to where now I can go and drop the price on the market? Did I do that? That's what you have to ask yourself. And if the answer is no, then you're not gonna make consistent money. And that's what you have to understand about the land game. So we ended up dropping the price to $600,000. We got an offer within 24 hours, we got an offer for $600,000. The deal ended up closing within 30 days. We make this amount of money, but the biggest learning lesson, like I said, is to make sure that you're aggressive with your pricing. Because imagine if I would have listed this property at $600,000 to begin with. What that tells me is that at least within 45 days, we would have had an offer for $600K because that's what the market wanted to pay for that property. So you need to time your pricing correctly so that you can sell your properties right away. That's the lesson in this story. If you don't price your properties correctly, they will sit. I believe the buyer that bought this property ended up building on it. We don't end up keeping track of these properties because we're a very buy and sell game, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. So I don't keep track of what they did, but this is a learning lesson. If you want to do big deals, understand that they are out there and they exist. It takes an inherent amount of research, speaking to locals, and being consistent with your mail. If you do those 3 things, you will find big deals. And it really only takes one good deal to change your life or a series of good deals to change your life for the better. Also, understand that you must listen to the market. Listen to what the market says. Don't ever try to outprice yourself on the market because you and your cash flow will suffer in this game if you don't listen to the market. Please understand that local realtors and brokers are great. They're fantastic, but sometimes they don't understand our game. So when they don't understand our game, it's your job to make them understand that I need to get this property sold in 90 days or less. No more than that. All of my properties that I hold, I want to make sure that I get them sold in 90 days or less. If you want me to do more deal breakdowns like this, leave me a comment below. Make sure to follow me on all my social medias and join our free Discord. Like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching Landverse, and I'll see you next time.
Alrighty, so these are the main frameworks that we use to find
rural recreational markets. And from there, I'm going to show you what I do to actually extrapolate that data. So it's going to be done in ways where you will see multiple different frameworks and methods of how I do it, how I find six-figure deals, how I create the conveyor belt, how we do all these things. Just for example, I'm going to show you guys how I use priced. So with price, you always want to go to more, you want to go to research, and then you want to do the county that we just had. So I'm going to go ahead and take Clare County. I'm going to put it into here and just kind of see what it tells me. And also just so you know that, even if the ratio, that's the guideline for me, right? The ratio is 0.5 or higher, but if for whatever reason it doesn't say that, which it does, right? It always usually does say that, right? So you can even see here, right? Sold to for sale ratio is 0.75. That's fantastic. That's what I'm looking for, right? So even with that being said, that's a county immediately. We also want to go, where's the other one? Roscommon County. And again, you would build your mailer based upon that one key point county that you see that has a lot of red dots just like that, and then making sure that the properties that you're actually looking at, the actual comps, are consistent with the kinds of properties that we want to buy and we want to sell. Let's go Roscommon County. Yeah, Roscommon County, 0.95. And again, remember the guideline is 0.5 or higher. We always want to be in at 0.5 or higher in our county research. Even we can go 5 to 20 acres. Let's see. It goes even higher. Go 20 acres plus. Okay, that's a little lower. So that's interesting. So then that means we want to stay in the 5 to 20 acre range. So Clare. I want to see what Clare is. 0.1, 1.1, 0.43. Interesting. Okay. Just so we have that data. So now what I'm going to do, I'll give you guys a couple more counties too. So let's do one more county. This is how you find rural recreational properties to buy and sell. So we also want to look to and see that you've got Michigan, you've got Wisconsin, Minnesota, all these areas right here, just while I'm on the topic, all these areas are fantastic areas for rural recreational property. Even New York, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. All these are great areas for rural recreational property. Now, obviously, you need to go in and kind of see that. And a big reason why I use Whitetail is because they're really the hub for rural recreational property and getting them sold really fast. And so if there's rural recreational property to be sold or to be for sale, then they're going to have it and they're going to know like what that market is like. And that property is going to be listed with them. And that's why I use Whitetail, because especially for rural rec, they're going to have a lot of listings. And so I want to see like where do they have the most of their listings or even the least of their listings and kind of figure out how I can adjust my strategy from there. So you got Clare County. I want to go a little north because once you kind of start seeing this is more city, more farmland. I don't really want to be in this area right now because I'm looking for rural rec. So once that starts lightening up like that, look, again, you can kind of see these are more, farming land parcels, more of a city area. I want to be up here ideally. There's really not. Let's use this county for example. Ogemaw. Let's go to Ogemaw County. All right. See, same kinds of stuff here. Let's see here. Seems like a lot actually hasn't sold through in this area. I wonder what's for sale. Just see what's for sale. Okay, so pretty consistent. Hunter's Dream. You see how it's being marketed as a Hunter's Dream, right? It's been on the market for 5 days. I guarantee this will fly off the shelf. But honestly, it probably would have flown off the shelf a little faster at $199. But who knows what their profit margin is like. If this is even a land flipper, I don't know. Good marketing. I'm not seeing any drone shots, but good marketing. Not great, but good. 5 days on Redfin. Yeah, this is the exact kind of property that you'd be looking for. All right, so then I'd go and put Ogemaw back into my research database just to see what the sold to for sale ratio is. Again, 0.75, right? So that's perfect. That's what we're looking for. So now I'm going to take, just show you guys how I actually build the data set. I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to go Ogema County, Michigan. I'm going to go Roscommon. And where was our other one? Add it. And then we have Claire. And then we're going to add it. Okay. Because of the fact that I went and saw that the sold to for sale ratio for a certain point in, I think it was Roscommon, was a little lower. I'm still gonna keep that in my data set. I want big acreages. I still want 60, 70, 80 acres, but I'm just kind of keeping that in mind. And again, a lot of deals are really made with conversation. So you could like have the most perfect data set ever, but if you don't know how to actually talk on the phone, then it doesn't matter. And so we want to make sure that our data set is not going to be perfect. We can get our data set to 90% perfection. And that's what I'm going to show you guys how to do. Because even if you guys have the most perfect mailer and the acquisitions mastery is not on point, you're going to have an issue getting deals. So I'm going to go 5 acres minimum. You can see you can put your minimum and max acreage into price. So you have land characteristics. You're going to go 5 to, I'm just going to say 20. And then acreage increment is 5. It's by 5s. So then I'm going to go 20, just say 21 to 50, acreage increment by 5. So what that means is, well, the acreage increment is basically when the data set actually downloads, you'll see it. It'll be like, okay, from 5 to 10 acres, from 10 to 15 acres, from 15 to 20 acres. It'll be priced in that way. And then 5, and then you're going to go 51 to, I'm going to maybe stop at 100 just for this purpose. Offer price percent, I'm going to go 38%. I'm going to go price with sold comps only. So this is a very important factor right here. We always want to make sure we're pricing with sold comps only. We don't want to price with anything else but sold comps, because for sale comps is really just skepticism. It's skepticism of the market. So we don't actually know if those things are going to sell or not. Now, when something is actually sold, then we have a very, very clear path on what we're going to do, on what to do from there, because it's actually sold. The market's decided what the property is worth. It's actually sold. So things that I need to scrub out in the data tree filter. Marshland, I don't want that in there. I do not want barren land in there. I don't really want mountainous land in there, because then what you're going to get is a lot of slopey property. And even when you take this out, sometimes you still get property that's sloped up. I don't want that. Wasteland, I don't want that. Wildlife refuge. Natural resources, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want open space. I don't want common land. These are all just things that we don't want. And these kinds of things are taking out the likelihood of us having a lot of properties with wetlands, which we don't want to buy. We don't want to buy properties with wetlands. We don't want to be buying properties with floodplains. Those things don't help us. We don't want to be buying properties that are sloped. Those things are not going to help you sell your property fast. All that's going to happen with properties like that is the buyer is going to come and try to offer a bunch of contingencies, and then you're not going to be able to sell your property quickly, because the more issues a property has, the less room for negotiation, the less leverage you actually have with a buyer. And so we want to minimize those issues. Oh, also, last thing I need to do, fallow land. I don't want fallow land in there. No, that's all good. So owner occupied, we don't want that. What's weird is that sometimes, even though we're buying vacant land, you still have the data set. This is so to explain the way Price works. Priced actually has a contract with DataTree, which is a very, very popular data source amongst land investors. So Price actually takes all of DataTree's data and uses it as their own, basically. And so it's weird that even with the DataTree data that we have, sometimes they mark absentee owner, but then still that person could still live there. So we want to make sure that we're leaning the odds in our favor, basically, with the market research that we do and with this. So when we're actually going through the data set and filtering different things out, we're leaning the odds more and more and more in our favor towards getting the kinds of deals that we want to get. So you want to go exclude do not mail, absentee owner, corporate owned. I don't care whether it's corporate owned or not.
But those are the two things. I don't want to take out the exclude do not mail list. I don't want anyone that's on the do not mail list in there. The ideal seller for a property like this is someone that doesn't even live there. And even if they do live there, they're like way older. Maybe they live maybe they live a county over, even if they are in the area. But ideally, we're looking for people that are never going to use it again. Are never going to hunt on it again. And you'll get different circumstances, but that's the primary one, and where you'll really be able to like have a deal where you're, for example, buying it for $35,000 and selling it for $100,000. This is a deal that could literally happen by pricing a melody like this. So living area, square feet, we want to go 0 to 0. I want it at 0 to 0 because I don't want any structures on my property. Now, even if there are structures, which there's still structures could still come back, it's just gonna kind of dwindle that down. If there were data reported to the data source that, hey, there's a structure on this property and, for example, it's 1,000 square feet, that's not gonna pop up. Now, structures will pop up if the data source didn't actually report it. Now, there are some times when the county doesn't report those things because maybe they don't know or they don't have accurate reported information. So that's really important for you guys to understand. So we want to be at last sale date. I always go last sale date is before a certain point of time. Only because I don't want anything that has just recently sold. Because if it's just recently sold, the odds of me getting it for below market value are pretty slim to none, and usually slim as left town. So we want to go 21, just going to say 2021, for example. We're going to go December of 2021. That's the last sale date. That's enough time for people to kind of decide that, hey, I don't want this property anymore. I bought this and it's not working out for me, or I bought it and I don't use it, or whatever it might be. All deeds, listing status is not active, pending. Then I'm going to get my count before I actually run my search. Cool. 2,100. 2715. Okay. So now this is how we actually go through and decide, what to pick and what not to pick. I'm not actually going to download this data set, but I am going to kind of show you guys how you implement this into your business and why it's important. So, for example, Roscommon County, 76 to 80 acres. Let's see how it's priced. So on average, they believe that we'll be offering $85,000 for a property. Now, it's important that you look at the comps because as soon as I just clicked on this, I can see that it gave me 3 different comps. These 3 are all outliers, right? So I know that right off the bat, I know these are outliers. So I want to kind of look and like, why are they outliers? Richfield Township, 80 acres. I mean, this is ideally what we'd be looking for. So look, if you're in at 85 and you're out at 159, that's an ideal situation, right? This $300,000 one is definitely an outlier. I don't know why it sold for that, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. If I can get some kinds of pictures or something like that. And again, I use geopricing. So what geopricing is basically they're pricing the coordinates of your property based upon the geolocation and coordinates of the other comps. So if you have a comp in a certain area that sold for $159,000 and your property is, say, right up the street or in a similar geolocation as that property, and you said 38%, that's why they're coming up with the $85,000. In order to aim for properties where you're getting a specific profit, you also need to make sure that you got a minimum purchase price. If I don't want to buy things for $10,000, then I can actually take that out right here. So you can see I've done a minimum purchase price at $30,000, which I didn't do before, which is why that other thing was in there. It's probably going to give me less records now, though. Let's see. Which is fine. If it gives you less records, you still have 973. That's okay. That means now you're way more targeted. Honestly, some of my best mailers and some of my best deals have come from when I actually had a small sample size of data to use. But I kept adding on. I kept adding on my data. You see all these, there's nothing there. 120. And honestly, for something like this, for a market like this, we might even be able to lower our purchase price, maybe even go down to 20,000, maybe even go down to 15,000. Because on average, if I'm going 15 to 20,000, you're still going to be able to sell for probably around $60,000, $50 to $60,000, which still gives you the kind of profit that you want. We'll look at these comps. See how long this took to sell. So this one took 3 months to sell. And you can see again, like I always say, right? We want to make sure we're priced aggressively. If this was priced at, say, 220, it probably would have sold even faster than it sold in. And that's what we want. So these are the kinds of properties that you'd be purchasing, that you'd be getting under contract. Just to play with a little bit, just so you guys kind of get a framework of how I used it, how I used this to scale my business. 15,000. Let's go down to 15,000 just for this purpose. Just see what they say. I can guarantee it'll be more records. And I want to see on average, if I'm offering $15,000, what do they anticipate I'm offloading it for? This is a good example right here. Okay, so 17,000 on an average. I think I'm offloading it for 29. That's a base hit. So I'd keep that in there as a beginner, as a base hit. You don't want to do any deal that's going to net you less than $10,000 though. Like really, just it's not worth it. Honestly, it takes the same amount of time to do the little deal as it does the big deal. It really does. So that's essentially how you pick a rural recreational market and how you put it into price to get the data set that you actually need to send it to Postcard Mania to actually get the mail sent out. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in a later module on how to systematize a data set like this and send it to Postcard Mania and get all that stuff.
You to go, whether you sell the property or you don't. With that in mind, I mean, was your original plan? I know you bought this property 20 years ago, Femi. I mean, were your plans to originally build on it, or did you have something else in mind?
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I did want to build on it, and then we found another parcel, and then, she wanted to be closer to her mom, and, happy wife, happy life. So, I definitely wanted to honor that. And so we didn't end up doing anything with it. So.
Absolutely. Happy wife, happy life is what I live by. So I feel like you got the right slogan there. I'll tell you that. All right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, Femi, that you pretty much had your mind made up about selling, considering what you just mentioned. I mean, about how long have you been thinking about,
Well, Jim, I'm actually just curious here, man. I know you're asking me these questions, and that's fine. Who are you? I don't know who you are. I'm just trying to figure out, why are you asking me all these questions? It seems like, you're asking me definitely some more personal questions here. So just kind of want to figure out, where that's coming from. I don't know you.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the flip side, Femi, I guess, unfortunately, I don't know you either. I'd love to, but unfortunately I don't. The reason for my questions is I'm just trying to learn a bit more about the property. As I mentioned to you, I buy quite a bit of land through my company in the area. I'm just trying to learn a bit more about you, about the property, and seeing if and how we can go ahead and come to terms on a potential agreement here. So that's why I ask these questions. I don't mean to go ahead and, take up too much time or ask questions that aren't needed. I just want to go ahead and ask questions that can be of use. This way we can go ahead and either come to a conclusion on potentially moving forward one way, or if we can't, no problem at all. Is that fair?
I mean, it sounds pretty fair. I mean, are you guys actually buying a lot of land, or what are you guys, wholesalers? If I'm going to work with someone at all, I just need to make sure that I'm not being scammed.
Absolutely. And being scammed, unfortunately, is something that is prevalent in today's world. But with that being said, you feel free to go ahead and look up our website, americafirstbuyers.com. We're a registered LLC in the state of South Carolina. There is nothing about a scam in our interaction. We've worked with many title companies in the area. I'd be happy to provide you with a couple: Main Street Title, Down Street Title, Up Street Title. These are companies, if you're in the area, you're definitely heard of. So I get where you're coming from, Femi. Just want to make one thing clear. I'm not here to scam anyone. I'm just trying to go ahead and see if we can buy the property or not. And once again, if we can't, there's no stress here. I just want to go ahead and see if we can or we can't. Does that make sense?
It does. Pause. And always on top of that, and just so you know, we can't even take legal ownership of a property until money's been wired to you first.
Got it.
All right, go for it.
All right. You said we can keep going?
Yeah, continue.
All right. So Femi, I know you mentioned that you and your wife are looking to sell this parcel. So I'm assuming you guys are both on the same page about selling it?
Yeah, we have talked about it. I definitely would want to include her in on this decision before I did anything, but we've definitely talked about it. I've ran it by her, and yeah.
I can totally respect that. Having a wife myself, I mean, I know these decisions obviously have to be taken very seriously, and I think having your spouse on board, one way or the other, is something that is very important.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Femi. I mean, would it be possible if she could go ahead and jump on this call as well? I'd love to have a discussion with her as well, and potentially see what we can do here.
Yeah, I mean, I can get her on the call. I'll put you on speaker. How about that? And I'll have her listen.
Sounds great. And if you don't mind me asking, what was her name?
Jessica.
Gotcha.
Actually, I'm Femi, so Jasmine. Her name is
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Yeah,
No worries. You almost got in trouble there.
I did.
I got you. And then I would just go ahead and I would, if I was,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then I'd ask
But
hello and all that stuff, right?
yeah, so
I would do that.
when you're doing this, think about all potential situations that could happen when you ask that question. So either she's right there, either she's not there right now. She could give him a call, or he can give her a call. But they could also say, yeah, I've talked to her about it. Yeah, we're all good. No, I haven't talked to her about it. Okay, would that be a conversation? And then if like, nah, like it's okay, whatever. If they don't handle that well, then we go into the next questioning of how do you think she would feel if you did sell the property? Because then that would be like, he has to answer that with, she would either feel she wouldn't want me to do it, or she would, and we've already talked about it, right? So then you're completely removing the wife objection with that. Okay. But yeah, let's resume, because I kind of want to get through all of it.
Sure. So Femi, Jasmine, I was just wondering, have you guys received any other offers for this property?
Oh yeah, we receive offers all the time. I mean, every day. So mail. That's why, like, I'm having this conversation with you, but a lot of these guys, sometimes they don't call me back. Sometimes, the more I get these letters and texts, the less I take these kind of companies seriously, if I'm being honest with you.
I understand. I mean, look, taking up your time without anything in return is something I would be frustrated too. I get where you're coming from. Once again, that's not what I'm going to be able to, or what I'm going to do here. But if you don't mind me asking, I know you're getting about a call a day that you mentioned. I mean, why haven't you taken any of the offers that you've gotten?
Not exactly the price that I'm looking for, and not exactly legit. I mean, I just don't really, it's more about like, I'm not super sure you guys are legit. I do want to maybe, I mean, we want to sell it, because we definitely want to sell it. I've been talking to her about going to Europe for a few years now, and I'm getting ready to retire. She's already retired, and it's time to travel a bit. But I just, you guys aren't legit. I don't know if you guys are legit. I don't know the kind of companies that you guys are, and that's really my biggest drawback.
I understand, Femi. Look, I know we got on the phone about 10 minutes ago, and, I hope that each minute that passes by, I'm able to earn a bit more of your trust. I mean, I'm sure we'll get there at some point, but once again, we're a company that we do good by people because we know they do good by us. So just want to make that clear. There's nothing here that there's any ill intentions about. But Femi, it sounds like the biggest reason as to why you didn't take any of the other offers is price. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't really gotten offers. I've gotten offers at around, 34, 35. For context, market value is 100, just for context. So yeah, I haven't really gotten offers that I've been looking for.
Understood. I get you. Okay. So essentially price is a pretty big deal to you here.
I mean, isn't price a big deal to all of us?
It is, yeah. I just figured I'd go ahead and just kind of iron down that was the reason why you hadn't sold the property before. But I think we're on the same page. I mean, when you do sell this property, I mean, once again, whether to me or to someone else, are you planning on buying another property with the funds that you collect?
Well, no. I mean, I told you if I was to sell it, I would take the money and go travel with my wife. That's what I would do.
Gotcha. Okay, so you would basically celebrate by traveling.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Good, and that's something I'd love to do as well. Maybe we can reverse roles when that time comes. All right. So Femi, Jasmine, I mean, if we were to reach an agreement today, I mean, would anyone else need to sign off before we can move forward?
No, it's just us. Our kids are grown. They're doing their thing, and yeah, no, it's just us here. So that'll be it.
Totally understand. Okay. And if we were to reach an agreement today, would anything prevent you from selling the property in the next 90 or so days?
No. I mean, no. I mean, time isn't really a super big hurry to us. I mean, like I said, I do want to go to Europe this summer, but I mean, time's not really the biggest thing. We could always just go later. So, you know, that's really my biggest motivation right now is taking her to Europe. So.
Absolutely, it's great motivation. I'll put it that way. So Femi, this is what I'll say here, and Jasmine as well. We'd love to hear your opinion. I'm seeing that investors in the area, you know, they're typically paying, you know, for a 40-acre property like this. I mean, they're typically paying in between, you know, $45,000 and $50,000 for properties like these. I mean, what would you say to one of those investors?
I mean, yeah. So that's something that I could see work. I definitely want to be closer to the 50 range. Definitely want to be closer to the 50 range, but I could see that.
Okay, I got it. Sorry, I see the lead manager part. No, I gotta skip that part.
No worries.
Maybe we're not going over mail. Femi, it does look like our offer is closer to that 50,000 number. What do you think about that?
Well, what is the actual offer? I mean, you're saying it's closer to, but you know, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially right at $50,000 in terms of that being our number here.
So then if I could do $50,000, would that be something that would work for you? Yes. No,
I mean, that makes sense because once they say yes, then you kind of got them.
Exactly. Okay, great. Well, you know, I can send you that contract right now. Does that sound good? And then start that. And so while you're doing this, already have and always think about how you're gonna process this out in the future, right? So as you're doing that, have the contract ready and then just replace it. Put the number in there and send it over. And then walk them through it.
Gotcha. Is that what I should do now or?
No. I know, because, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm just telling you, just have this in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, look, 50 would actually work. Like I said, I do want to go to Europe and do that. So yeah, 50 would probably work.
Great. Well, we can go ahead and do Femi, Jasmine.
But let me ask you this, Jim. I'm just curious to know. You know, what you're saying 50, but it makes me think. What would you really give me? Like, what's the most you give me for a property like this? Like, if I was to go on the market or talk to some realtors or some brokers, or you know, what would you? You know, could you do 60, 65?
It's a great question. And if I was you, Femi, I'd probably go a bit higher. I'd probably ask for 80, 90. You might as well, right? What I will say to you is this. We buy quite a bit of land in the area and quite a lot over the past few years as well. And whenever we buy land, we're typically in the ballpark of, you know, we're paying in between 1 to 1.2 thousand an acre. And that's just what we've seen off of comparables, what we've seen out of our own personal experience. So with that being said, that's how we have gotten to this 50,000 number. In terms of going above that number, that's quite honestly not something that is possible. And that's just because of the fact that we're offering you the ability to liquidate a very illiquid asset at an extremely high rate. Femi, could you potentially get 55,000 on the market? Sure. Maybe you can list this property and get 55,000 for it. the end of the day, Femi, that's not taking into account the realtor fees you're gonna have to go ahead and pay. But the title fees, transfer tax, closing costs. After all that's said and done, you're gonna likely end up with about $50,000. So the question I'll pose to you then is this: would you rather prefer to go ahead and have a seamless, simple transaction to where you're netting $50,000, or sell this property on market for 55, or even at your number, 60,000, and get the same number in your pocket at the end of the day?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, pause. That was really good. One thing I would add on top of that is, would you rather get that 50,000 and take your wife to Europe? Right? Because then we're resorting back to his pain and the solution that we're providing. So would you rather get that 50,000 to take your wife to Europe for those couple months that you're talking about? Or would you rather list it and wait 6-7 months? And that'll really get them like, okay, yeah, I'll do the 50. Let's go.
Gotcha. And that's a great tidbit. Just keep using the pain against them.
Exactly. All right, go for it. That's me. You know what, Jim, you bring up a good point, man. I think the 50 will work. I think the 50 will work. So let's what's the process? What do we need to do? I'm all in. I'm ready to go.
Sounds great. We can go ahead and get this done, Femi, right now. Would you be able to go ahead and pull up your computer and go over that contract?
Yep.
Alrighty. And what would be, Femi, your best email to go ahead and send that to while we're here on the phone?
Send it to femi.femi@gmail.com.
Sure, no problem. What I'm going to do, Femi, is this. Give me about 45 seconds. I'm going to input the parcel ID as well as the purchase price, and I'm going to go ahead and get this over to you. The email is going to be coming from DocuSign. That's going to be the platform it's coming from. Do you see it in your inbox?
Yep, I see it right here. So I just click this, and then that's it. Are you going to sign this first?
Well, if you ask that question, it's a great question. What I will say is typically the sellers sign this agreement first. As you can see at the top on the left-hand corner under buyer, it says America First Buyers. So either myself or one of my partners will go ahead and sign that on our end. Typically the seller does go ahead and sign first. It's just something that, I'm sure you're pretty used to these transactions, something that is quite common. Mm-hmm. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I'm just asking. I just want to make sure you guys are signing it. And then, what title company are you going with? Are they pretty legit? Do you have their number, or what happens with that?
Yeah,